Arcade 1UP is at it once again, this time with a slew of brand new arcade machines. Some of them aren't even available to purchase just yet, but I wanted to do my due diligence. I do like covering these, do a quick video, and I figured why not. So here we are. First up is the Killer Instinct cabinet. You'll notice that it does include the extender, but they are very clear. This is not a final design. I suspect you will see artwork as with all the other arcade cabinets for that extender piece. You will probably see some sort of artwork on there eventually. Right now, this arcade cabinet is going to include Killer Instinct 2, Battletoads, and the Battletoads Double Dragon game. I think it's cool. I think Killer Instinct definitely holds a special place in a lot of people's hearts, particularly those who jumped into fighting games around that N64 era. I think Killer Instinct 64, a lot of people remember fondly. So I think that has that going for it. I question the price, as with all of these. I'll jump really quickly over here. These are all going to run you about $500. So keep that in mind as I go through the rest of these. Our next is the Dragon Lair arcade cabinet. Now, Dragon Lair was a really cool arcade game because it was really a cartoon. It was really more like a QuickTime event, almost in a lot of essences, but it looked very, very authentic. I think the art style, incredibly, incredibly original. Even by today's standards, I think a lot of people still look back on at least the art style of this game quite fondly. And what you're going to get with this game is you're going to get Dragon's Lair and Dragon's Lair 2 and Space Age, which are all featured by the same artist. So you're going to get, just think of this as like the cartoon cabinet, right? You're going to get all those as well. Now, one of the things I did notice, and I want to jump back quickly here, and this just says design not final. Clearly, Arcade 1UP loves to do these really kind of goofy Photoshop, so I would not expect this to be the final artwork, clearly. But one of the things you'll notice on this particular one with Dragon's Lair is you do have these really big pronounced speakers here. I noticed that's something that you see in some of the cabinets, and you'll see as I move on to some of them that have a little bit better artwork. We'll go ahead and jump over to the Capcom one briefly. We'll come back to it. You'll see there's no speakers there. So I feel like maybe this one, because of the presentation of the game, they wanted to give more of like this cinematic experience. I feel like they really tried to pronounce those speakers loud and clear. Obviously, there's only one controller. It's designed for a single person with the two speakers to give you more like a stereo experience. I do applaud that. And I know that a lot of times I make these videos somewhat in jest, but the reality is they do continue to hone their craft. And I have to give them credit for thinking that, hey, you know what? This particular game, designed for one person, let's try to make it a better presentation. So I do applaud that. I do like this look. I think it's a clean look. And I'm glad that they're thinking outside the box, because a lot of these games do come off, I think, as very bare. There's really not a lot to them. I think it really makes a very, very big emphasis on home emulation, maybe even do it your own arcade cabinet at this point. But, for the people who just want to play one or two games, obviously this is a great solution. Next, we have the XMen 4-player arcade cabinet game. This one, the thing I worry about with this one, by the way, just to point out, this does include the X-Men 4-player game, and that's it. Now, it does include it does include the Wi-Fi, I wanted to mention. I remember covering this one before, but I think they weren't really clear on what they wanted the design to be. So if you have somebody else who has a cabinet who isn't next to you or isn't going to come over to your house and stand next to you, maybe in a COVID environment, you can dial into their cabinet and play. It's interesting, but a weird design choice. We are starting to see more implementation of Wi-Fi in these cabinets. Maybe that means future updates. I really think we're getting to the point where they're going to sell a generic cabinet and then they're going to just have you buy tailored emulation games. That's my thought. I feel like as we're dabbling more into these things, that's where we're ultimately going to head. It remains to be seen. The one that I'm most excited about, though, for me, would definitely be the Capcom Legacy Edition arcade cabinet. A huge Capcom fan. I think their arguably one of my favorite game studios. I just have so many good memories of stuff they've made. And this really speaks to me because it has Final Fight, which is one of my favorite games ever. So you're going to get a dozen different titles here. You're going to get a litany of Street Fighter games. You're going to get Strider, Commando, Final Fight, Ghosts and Goblins, and 1944, which was a really, really fun game. Which, okay, I like it. They did a good job here. You can see they've really tailored this for for Street Fighter, obviously. If you had this kind of control here at the top, this picture here, obviously this wouldn't directly correlate to a game like 1944 about flying a bomber. Probably doesn't really play a lot into Final Fight because Final Fight didn't really have that kind of mechanic either, but that's okay. I say throw in the games. I'm not too worried about the labeling. Again, goes back to my point. I think one day you're going to see replaceable panels or something else where you have more flexibility in your console, but it does support 2 players, which is great. So you and a buddy can sit there and jam through Final Fight together. Dibs on Mike Hager, the coolest mayor of the coolest metro city in the planet. Next, we have the Bandai Namco Entertainment Legacy Edition arcade cabinet. I love the bright pop art style here. I think this really would pop in a room. I think that it's cool little art style. I'm not really sure what's going on with this creature here that's not Pac-Man. I don't know who that is, honestly. I think you maybe glance at it and just say, oh, okay, but whatever. This is going to include a dozen Bandai Namco classic games, including a litany of Pac-Man games, plus some of those older arcadey games like Galaga and Dig Dug, Mappy, which, okay, I mean, the reality is Pac-Man is quite a draw. Even to this day, very iconic character. Everybody knows how to play Pac-Man. Very simple, very fun to jump in. Interestingly enough, despite the fact that this arcade cabinet designed for 1 player, as you can see in the photo there with a single stick in the center, you don't have those nice speakers like you did in the Dragon's Lair version. So keep that in mind. If you are planning on buying one of these and homebrewing it yourself, you may want to vouch for the one that's got a little nicer speaker setup, but it's your choice. So there you have that. And there's a list of them here. I'm not going to go through every single one of them. The last 2 tabs I did jump ahead, but just to go and show you again, these things are not cheap. I'm just pulling some of the older ones here. They do make the tabletop variant, which will run you significantly cheaper, or the full stand-up one that usually includes now the almost standard bumper or the boost that gives you a little bit normal game height. Those are going to run you 500-ish. They also just came out with Pong for $550, which has a handful of games, but these are going to allow you to have, this is like the old Pizza Hut style. I remember waiting outside or in the lobby of a Pizza Hut with my parents when I was a kid and playing a round or 2 of Pong with my old man. And it would look exactly like this table, the flat table where you put your food on top of it even though you're not supposed to. That's what this is. This one being more expensive than the other, I have a hard time justifying that cost because it's very limited. It's meant for 2-player top-down screen games, specifically where you're going to be challenging a friend. Like this could be your friend. I don't know. This is a really bad Photoshop, by the way. But you're going to be, you could challenge your friend on like a flat surface. Very limited expansions outside of this in terms of like modding it or whatever, but it's there. So what I'll do, I'll post a link in the description below to all of these individual links that I went through. So if there's anything that I sent over, or I talked about rather, that you want to investigate more on, please feel free to do so. Click through and read those. And yeah, as more come out, if there's new tech, I will gladly talk about them. We've seen Arcade 1-Up expand quite a bit. We've seen better panel art. We've seen like boosters to raise the height. We're now seeing better speaker systems. We are now seeing more integrated internet connectivity to play with others. We're seeing custom one-off ones like Buck Hunter or some of the racing games. Yeah, I got to give these guys credit. It's a fascinating watch. as a fan of gaming and definitely retro gaming, I love this. And I'm really intrigued by them pushing the envelope of home arcade cabinets. So we'll see what they come out with next. And when they do, rest assured, I will be talking about it on this channel. With that, I'm closing out this video. Hope you guys found it informative. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourselves. And until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.